Okay, here we go. We're going to try number 7. 7 is a challenging problem even for a seasoned accountant like me. All right. Sometimes I find some problems just doesn't hit the gray cells like other problems, and that's part of life. And you're more familiar with that these days because you're in the student mode, and so I definitely have sympathy for the plot that you're in trying to get your MBA. Okay, with that said, let's take a look. I'd like you to read through the problem so you get familiar with the numbers and the parameters of what the problem tells you in number 7. So take a second, stop the music, and then come back. Okay, hope the silence was good and you got a flavor for what the problem's asking. What the problem is asking, in my understanding, is what is the amount of material that needs to be purchased for August, and the material that we're talking about is, to put it in the way that the English say it, is aluminium. I know that's not what the problem spells it as, but they claim that it's aluminium, which, if you look at the periodic table of elements, sort of makes sense with the other elements all ending in "ium." Okay, this only proves one thing, this soliloquy, is that it is, again, late at night on a Wednesday night, and I'm sort of a little bizarre right now. But let's get to the problem. So what we have to do is figure out what has to be purchased for the month, and we're talking about, in reality, we're really talking about inventory. What inventory are we talking about? We're talking about the inventory for aluminium. It's the material inventory. Material inventory accounts is followed in the following way. It starts off with your beginning inventory. We add what we purchase for the month. We subtract out our ending inventory, and we will get the cost of goods sold, or another way of describing it at this point might be just to simply say we get the inventory that is sold. That's the formula, and the formula is going to be helpful here, useful here. This is our materials inventory, so we'll say inventory material. And the reason the formula will be important is because we realized one thing, which is we're trying to solve for this. So it must be that we're going to figure out what these numbers are, and perhaps once we figure those out, we'll be able to determine what the unknown is here. So how do we figure out the beginning inventory? Well, the problem tells us, when you read through it, that 15% of the next month's production should be the ending inventory for the current month. So let's put it in terms of August. If we're trying to solve for August, which is the month we are trying to solve for, August's beginning inventory is last month's ending inventory. Let me say that again. August's beginning inventory is the same as last month's ending inventory, which would have been July. And the July ending inventory is 15 months of August's budget production needs. That's the goal for beginning inventory for August, or the goal of the ending inventory for July. So if the July ending inventory's goal was 15% of the August production, so let's figure out what that is. Let's take a look. Now I'm going to erase the formula for a minute. We'll see it again, I'm sure. But to get to the numbers, the August, that's not a great way to do it. The August budget production is 24,940. So 15% of that is 3,741, and that's the number of units. So we got, in order to get to pounds of aluminum or aluminium, we have to take 0.7, because it's 0.7 pound for each unit is how much aluminium there would be. That's 2,619 pounds of aluminum. That would be the ending inventory for July, and it'll become the beginning inventory for August. So I'm going to set up, one second here, we're going to set up, let's see if I can do it, a in-between sheet blank paper so we can write in the formula. All right, so our beginning inventory is 2006.19, which is what we just calculated. So it's going to be plus beginning plus purchases minus end, units sold. Let's keep going. Back to the problem at hand. Okay, so that is our beginning inventory because it's our ending inventory July. Now, we want to know what is the ending inventory for August. And we can figure that out because it's the same concept, only looking at September. 1 month ahead, 15%. So 15% of 26,240 is 3936. 3936. And that's at 0.7 pounds. So it's going to be times 0.7. Because again, this number here represents units, and it's made up of 0.7 pounds for each unit. And that math will turn out to be 2,755. So let's plug that in here. So now we know that. Now what we do is we say, okay, let's look back to the problem. How much do we have to produce in August? And it's telling us our production is going to be 24,940. So what is that in terms of pounds of aluminum? Well, again, multiply it times 0.7 to get the pounds of material. That comes out to 17,458 pounds of aluminum. All right, now over to our formula. What that tells us is the following. 17,458 is what we're going to produce, and we also need to have, when we're finished, 2,755, the ending inventory amount. So for the entire month, we are going to need to use or have available the total of these two, which is 20,213, because we're going to produce this amount. We got to be left with this amount. So in total, we have to be able to have 20,213 pounds of aluminum sitting around. Well, we've got the beginning amount, 2,619. So we've already got that met, and that means that we only have to purchase the difference in order to get to where we need to be. So let's do that. Let's subtract 2,619 from the 20,213, and we're going to get the amount we need to purchase. So let's do the math. Let's see if it works out. Take 2,619 plus 17,594 minus 2,755, and we get 17,458, which is the amount that's going to be produced. Because that's, and here it's not really the units sold. Let me just correct some language. It's not really the units sold, it's the units that go to go out of production, so to speak. It's the units that go out of production. I'm going to say that in another way. 1 second. That was great. Why did I do that? There we go. Okay. Magic. Okay. So this is the unit down here. This is the units that go to sales. Or inventory. It goes to sales inventory, because that's what happens with the material. It goes to production, actually. That's the better way to describe it. It goes to production. So let's do it again just to make sure we got it. Shall we? Take a couple extra minutes to explain it one more time. Now that you see the numbers, let's do it one more time. So let me put one more page in there, and this time's a charm. Third time's a charm. Okay. So the issue is, we figured out that our beginning inventory should be So this is beginning inventory 2619. How do we know that? Well, the problem tells us how to compute what the beginning inventory is. That was the ending inventory of July, which becomes the beginning of August. So ending July is the beginning of August. So that's why we know here for August our beginning inventory is 2619. We figured out the ending inventory. Why? Because the problem tells us how to figure out ending inventory, and that turned out to be 2,755 in terms of pounds of aluminum. Now, we know the production's got to equal 17,458. What that production means is it's got to come out of here like so. So the beginning plus whatever we purchase minus the ending inventory. Remember, it's plus, minus whatever's purchased here minus the ending inventory has to equal the amount that gets produced. So even though we say normally this is the cost of goods sold, this is the cost, in this case, of materials inventory. This is the amount that goes to production. Because it's coming out of materials bought, which would be raw materials, and moved into production. So now we can solve the formula by saying what has to go in the middle has to be able to solve it. It turns out to be 17,594. And as I said, do the math to check it. 2619 plus this minus this equals 17,458. I'm going to do it on my calculator while you're doing it at home and having fun. And that's exactly right. Now, what does this all mean? What does this mean? 17,458 pounds is what the production is. And then what does this mean? 17,594 pounds have to be purchased. What is the cost to purchase? Well, the problem tells us it's 85 cents a pound. So multiply it times 85 cents a pound in order to get what it's going to actually cost us to do the purchasing. And that will come out to, go back to the problem. Well, let's do the math here. And that will come out to 14,954.90, or rounded to 14,955. Go back to the problem, and you'll see that's the answer here. C, 14,955. One more time. What do? We took, these are the pounds. That's what this is, accounting for all the pounds. Multiply the pounds times the 85 cents per pound to get the price, the cost price, 14,955. I think it's a tough problem because it asks how much is the cost of budgeted material purchases. I think it's a challenging problem. So if you got it, great. Otherwise, listen again and come back often. Okay, we'll stop here and come back.